Hello, everyone, and I'm looking down at the laptop.
You are.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Maritime Stewart. On my right here is
Matt and Nerf Dog Richie.
and we are delighted to join you for another Friday Night Foam. We have a very, you know what, every guest is special,
Right.
But we have one in just a tradition of special guests on here tonight. One of my, and I don't say this to everyone, one of my, everyone who's been on is one of my favorites. I guess there's nothing special about this next guest. No, he is one of my favorites. He has such a great sense of humor, and definitely has a flavor of videos all of his own. We were lucky enough to meet him down at Maryland Mayhem and get shot in the face with some darts by him, I'm sure. So
Speak for yourself.
well, okay. Listen, we all took some hits. Without further ado, let's bring on Man with Hat to introduce himself here. Welcome.
I don't know if I'm supposed to feel honored based off of that intro. It feels like I was supposed to be propped up, but also I was really let down as nothing special. So
so the problem is I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. It's a
now
small
my
community.
feelings are hurt.
I can't be like every other guest before this.
Garbage.
Leading up to this, you know.
Well, yes, I am Beret, aka Bret, or the other way around. Man with Hat. I have been in this hobby now for too long, and I'm still here. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Matt is just pointing at the silhouette of you running with
I'm pointing at this thing.
Oh, what are you?
There's a little overlay.
Oh, that's just part of the Discord overlay, Matt. Don't point out the holes in the curtain. Okay, it looks. Oh,
Pay no attention to the man.
fine. I'm gonna go midstream. I'm gonna fix it.
There you go.
There. None of you saw anything. All right, so I'm gonna just do a quick little welcome to the chat before we get into some hard-hitting topics. We've been softening Beret up with chit-chat before we really get into the journalism of it. Hello to Buff Daddy Nerf, who is maybe back from walking that corgi before the stream. Very important to walk your corgi before the stream. I know I always do. The Foam Flinger, can't to see what Beret has for us today. Okay. Wesley Hero, let's go. Man with Hat. Me saying almost time. And then some let's goes, some yo's, some hays. We have Foam Mando, a Nova Scotian, one province over. He said he's pumped to be here, and you know what? You were looking to get built up. He said you're his favorite. So there you go. He has a brand new YouTube channel. He's doing reviews with a big old helmet on, which is that's a challenge. That's not easy.
Choice, yeah.
But he's going in full Mando and doing some reviews, and it's pretty cool. So check out his channel as well. We have Carl. What is going on? We just got here. We don't even know what's going on yet. We have Beret in the chat. That's exciting. Oh wait, he's on screen too. The Nerf Shogun, Austin Christmas. That's a great name. We have lots of people popping into the chat, and that is awesome. Can I ask you? Can I ask you for the origin of some of the? Give me the origin of some of the nicknames. Man with Hat. Why Beret.Nerf? The silhouette of you in a saxophone. Give us some flavor, some details.
Yeah. No, for sure. It has been a hot minute since I actually thought about this one, but the story I'll give for the at least name inception was back in, I want to say early 2010s. So this is still a few years after I'd actually gotten into the hobby. I was going to a game in California with some of my friends. This was, I believe, which group was it? There were a lot more back then than there were now. Sorry, they're still out there. It's just some of them, unfortunately, we lost them to COVID. It was the not Burn. I give up. I was trying to pick out an outfit. I was trying to find something that would make me stand out at games. And very quickly, upon browsing Amazon, there were two things that came across my mind. One was that I saw some military hats. And I was like, ooh, right up my alley. And then I saw, berets. That's just like my name, Bret. That's as simple as it is. It was close enough to my name, literally like some moving of the letters and maybe a trade. And that, cool. So I bought one of those. The other thing I bought was a gas mask. Which one of those do you think stuck? It wasn't, well, the gas mask did stick to my face. It was not ideal to run around with at games, and it was also questionable for the school we were playing at. So I don't recommend doing that for various reasons in the future. But wearing a military beret seemed to stick okay, made me a little sweaty, but it became just kind of my go-to headwear for games, and it became a distinguishing feature. And again, it was just close enough to my name. So Beret, man with hat, that kind of just originated from people saying that that was just always what I was wearing. Maybe there were a few choice examples that made it stick extra funny, but it was as simple as just that became my game headwear. And so I still had that same beret from over, oh gosh, I guess it's been 10 years now. And I've obviously gotten more. I have enough to basically play as Odd Job and just throw hats at people, but I never have. And so that makes me a little hopeful one day I can do that.
Right.
That's awesome. I see in the chat we have Stevie Shoots Darts popping in, and we have CR Nerf popping in. CR Nerf, he has the distinction of having a calendar of me in his office in Cedar Rapids, which is weird.
Did you send it, or did he take the photo?
No, I sent it. I don't think it's not like a paparazzi thing.
Okay.
He joked that he would like one, so there he goes. I do love hearing an origin story, and it is cool to see, like, I don't know, I feel like I like when people have a nerfing outfit. Like I feel like HVZs are kind of where you see. Well, I don't get to a lot of club games because there's no clubs here other than if we drag people into play and we're trying to start some stuff up. So HVZ is kind of our chance to see, like, the nerfing outfits.
People in character, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think it's I do think that's kind of nice to see. It's I don't know, it's a nice fun thing to see. And it's funny. There's one there's one other nickname. Also there's also Bert. Is that just a mistake on your name? People think you're Bert.
I don't know who that is. You got the wrong guy, I think. That became just a pandemic joke, like a shorthand, where I decided to go in on minimal effort that turned into something a bit different, ironically, that some people ended up liking a lot more than whatever I was doing previously. So be careful when you're creative, because sometimes that's all people will expect from you. Also, one thing about the gas mask, because I see some people are mentioning it there too. The worst way to play with a gas mask on, again, don't recommend this. HVZ with a gas mask in the dark with a leafy poncho on, aka basically a ghillie suit. Don't recommend it for a few reasons. This was, like I said, about a decade ago, so things have changed, but also things that have not changed. Where you run, how easy it is to trip, how easy it is to fog up, then you take that off and suddenly you're not wearing eye protection. I'll have to try it again sometime, because, man, I just forgot why it was such a bad idea to do.
Yeah, it's definitely comfort is, as much as a cool outfit is one thing, actual comfort. And I have, like, every HVZ that I've done, I basically have, like, my tactical Vaseline that I require for, like, all of my chafing and all of my body parts that are falling right apart. Before the stream goes to down a weird path, I'd love to talk a little bit about, you've had a couple, and I'm sure, people in the chat, I'm sure people have seen those. You had a couple of videos lately about Dart Zone and voicing, I think, kind of, I think voicing, very well and balanced a lot of the things people have been saying around. Dart Zone started out, when I started, they definitely were like the darling of the hobby. And now, like, it feels like people are getting kind of grumpy, and some of it's justified. Some of it I kind of laugh a little bit, because I'm like, you're getting really grumpy about this, but, like, now I feel like sometimes X-Shot can do no wrong now, and they also have, flaws and issues that come out. I feel like sometimes we can all be a little bit fickle, but there's definitely some justified things in there. But, like, maybe you can chat a little bit about why people should check out those videos on what's going on Dart Zone Part 1 and 2.
You really want to waste some time, yeah, that's a way to go. And no, you're entirely right. In some cases, when someone screws up, then suddenly an alternative becomes really, really good looking, even if they themselves have some frustrations. Although X-Shot as well, the pros and cons of every company are different. And as I've mentioned in kind of my recent videos, recent being a couple days to a month ago, I've really enjoyed Dart Zone's products, and I know that they've been making them for people like us for quite some time.
Right.
And I was paying attention to them before they started doing pro stuff. I think I actually got some of their oldest Air Warriors blasters years ago. Before that's wait a minute, is that Buzzbee? I take it back.
Oh,
Man,
you're thinking of
It might be.
what are they
It might be an
called?
Adventure Force one. I forget now.
It's air something. I have a couple of them too. There's like the Power 48, the whatever. They're not here. They're in my Nerf
They're in your
storage.
mini storage
They're
areas.
like one of my many storage areas. But there's like a Gatlin one that they have too. I'm blanking. It's air something.
Someone
I'm
in the chat
forgetting
must
which
know.
blaster it is now that I'm referring to, but I'm gonna stop right there because I think I'm wrong. Point being, I've seen their stuff before the pro blasters, but I was also there when they released the Mark One, right? And I've kind of been a part of that ever since. And I would feel like I've been a positive voice for their work since that time, and I've been excited about their releases. And so it's only fair that when you see them kind of stumble a little bit or make some not just one mistakes, two mistakes, but consistent mistakes, you're like, okay, well, I kind of want to call this out because, hey, if you want actual feedback and from people who do like what you're doing, then here it is. I'm not trying to ring them up and, tell them all this directly because it's not gonna do anything either. But I've felt that people have expressed this to me at games, expressed it to me online, and I've tried to find kind of the middle ground where it is, as you mentioned too, just complaining for the sake of complaining, and then just kind of like blind loyalty for the sake of blind loyalty.
Right.
Both of those frustrate me, and I've tried to kind of piece together where I see it in somewhere in the middle. And then again, based off of my personal experiences, where I'm like, hey, here's what I've seen, here's what I think, and good luck. And if they want to listen to that, that's totally fine. And if they don't, okay. But I'm still curious what Dart Zone's putting out. And at the very least, they can take solace in the fact that I'm paying attention to them still, and instead of, I guess, ignoring them completely because I make videos, I care. That's one way to look at it, right?
For sure. In the chat, Buff Daddy Nerf, Air Zone. I know that was their older brand that they did, and I feel like I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to bring out a couple. There's no way to fit it all in frame. Matt was trying it out for the first time tonight, and he was just like,
There's no way I would run this in almost any scenario.
Right.
And we talked about this blaster a little bit over DMs, and it's like it works, which ironically kind of a compliment compared to some other stuff. I know some people are going to be upset when I say that out loud too, but also I found some interesting things. We were talking about RAG a little bit before this, and I found a very interesting observation that there were very few Dart Zone Pro blasters in the competitive games,
Right.
which I thought was really interesting because it kind of struck me that these style of blasters were meant for those.
Right.
And we're talking like up to 200 FPS for a Springer and 160 for a Flywheeler. There are a lot of Dart Zone blasters that do those numbers, or even better with a little modification. Or, I mean, that one might even be over cap in some cases. So it was just kind of interesting to see the differences between events, and maybe it's the FPS cap as well. Maybe it's the game, because I saw more Dart Zone blasters in the HVZ the day prior that were down-tuned if needed to that 130 cap. I was just like, okay, it's always curious to see, this is what they say they're putting out as kind of like the direct market for high-powered blasters for hobbyists and enthusiasts and going to their games, and then not really seeing much of them at the same time. You're like, okay, so am I a hater if I point that out? I guess so. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. when we were in the tournament
In Maryland?
in Maryland, I mean, there weren't exactly a lot of Dart Zone Pro blasters there either. I had a Mark III, but with a band blasters, it was completely
Yeah.
modded.
I think there was another. There were maybe a couple
couple,
Mark III's
yeah.
modded.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't see a whole lot. And even then, you had mentioned that you would rather have brought the 1.2 with some modifications at some point in Maryland, as opposed to the Trions, which
Oh, we'll get
both
to
ran.
we'll get to the Tryon.
Okay.
We'll get there.
all right.
Yeah, and so I have an so the Mark IV. I took it with a friend. I got a bunch of some of those lightweight and heavyweight darts out of Darts, which was very kind and appreciated because in Canada it's like contraband up here to get short darts. And I took my 1.2 Mark 1.2 and I took the Mark IV and we went to a good old fashioned gravel pit where we shot things when I grew up. And we were playing around with this and we couldn't hit anything even from 30 feet with the extension on. We took the extension off, put on the scar barrel, and then it was great from even farther back. So for me, like my whole thing, if they're gonna do pro stuff, they have to consult, like they have to involve some players. Like, cause these are, I'm certainly like, I'm no professor of Nerf, but like all of these blasters you play with for like 5 seconds and you're like, well, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like I know that cost can be an issue. Like X-Shot has thin plastic. I know that that's not just a snap of your fingers. Like that's a whole like production cost matrix thing. That's not an easy thing to fix, but like, I feel like some of this stuff, that's where the frustration is like, it just looks like the solution is like on the tip of your tongue. Like the Mark 1.2 taking out that dart guide, like almost completely fixed it. So frustrating.
Right. Well, like Beret said, the X-Shot stuff is cheaper plastic. It feels cheaper, but it's also a lower quality. You expect a cheaper item like this
From lower price.
From
Way lower price.
This is what, over $200 Canadian?
Canadian. It's
unwieldy. There's no way you would run this in any kind of professional or competitive arena, I don't think.
It's hard to. I think it looks cool for like cosplay and stuff. I feel like
Sure.
Al the Geek would paint that up and have like a really cool looking
Alien rifle.
Yeah, like, and you know what? There is something to that. I guess the problem I had is like it's bigger. It's bigger, and it didn't really deliver something new from the 1.2. I mean, it wasn't as wobbly, but like, I don't know. I guess the point we're trying to make is like my point isn't to like poop on Dart Zone either. I like what they're trying to do. I just feel like if you're going to say that you're doing pro blasters, you gotta fix your issues, because like their mid-range stuff I think is great. Their goofball stuff, like this is a fun. I've heard some people saying that they've had breakage. I have a couple of these and they've been fine, but like their goofball stuff, like their Walmart level stuff, I generally find is really, really good. The like things like the Dictator, like you know, people made fun of putting the magazine in the butt, but like I like weird mechanics, and like that was a solid blaster.
Yeah.
It's different. The Tomcat was an awesome blaster.
Yeah.
Like all that mid-range stuff is great. Like I don't know, you're kind of putting a target on your back too once you say pro.
You just got to go that last 5%. And like you said, involve some players, involve some people that will actually use these and get their feedback before you launch.
Yeah. I nearly drove me insane before the Omnia Pro was released with the just get an Omnia Pro bros when they were like railing against the Strife X and the cost. And like, I'm not, I mean, like, I would just be like, you say what you will. I'm not saying the Nerf Strife X is perfect by any means, but like that is a solid blaster. Like that blaster made me very happy. It's very solid. I wouldn't hesitate to use it. I think they were smart. To probably do that in as low a risk way as they could. And people just went crazy about the price. Like, do you not remember how much Nerf costs in the store? Like there are plenty of $80 Canadian Fortnite blasters out there that launch a dart about 65 feet per second.
Right.
So
yeah, it's hard. It's the price for some people is the only metric they see, and sometimes you can't blame them. Like we also have to remember that when we're talking to complete strangers online and you're trying to hit them with some facts and logic, and all of a sudden you're arguing with an 8-year-old and you're like, man, That was okay. I lose.
I'm like,
already.
my whole life has been leading up to this. Buckle up, kid.
Yeah. The stripe, yeah. I mean, like, there's just also just so much more Hasbro hate that's been lingering for years, and some of it's very well justified, or the frustrations, and so it's very hard for Nerf to kind of find their way back up, and for some people that will never happen. So the Strife X was doomed to fail, despite people showing like, hey, this works, and people are like, yeah, but, and you're like, no buts. It works. And it's like, unfortunately, that has become a metric to compare against Dart Zone when they don't always have functional stuff. But it's like, again, there's just such a wide spectrum, the prices, the people that are like involved in making stuff now. It sounds like there are some people from the hobby that have kind of like come onto Nerf's team, and that has shown, as I understood it, it ended up being a very positive thing. We could have gotten a very different pro Nerf blaster. We already did. They're called gel blasters. But the then that is the difference of what is Dart Zone's process for getting these blasters out. I don't know. You don't know. I don't know who does know, except for Dart Zone, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, I want them to succeed. You want them to succeed. And if this is how we kind of like just show them that we care, but also want them to improve, then okay. I don't think this is going to tank their stock prices.
No, for sure. Like, I don't know. I always do try to be, as honest as I can. I never want to be like, I always try to remember that at the end of it, there is a human who probably did their best behind every even bad blaster.
Probably dozens of humans behind every blaster.
Yeah, like I don't need people on the other side of the world weeping because of my scathing Mark IV comments. Like everyone, like
how much reach do you think you have?
There's one person in Singapore who has a maritime phone calendar.
Right.
There's not.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like review and have opinions. Try to have them with a bit of kindness.
Right. And I mean, I don't think perfection's expected. And the more competition in any sphere of blaster is better for everyone.
For sure.
So. And
I do want to touch really quickly on like kind of one, just because just to not make it all about Dart Zone, and then I want to go over to other goofier fun stuff, and I should check in with the chat in a second.
There's some questions in there, yeah.
I'm gonna get to some questions in the chat, but I'm just gonna like really say it quickly before we kind of get off like that checks and balances for companies of like, I've been loving everything that Xshot's been doing lately. I got one of those big boxes. You got one of those big boxes. We both got in those big boxes. We had a grand old time. I think they're awesome blasters. We kind of gave Xshot kind of a hard time for a while because everything they did was a reshell of, some pretty solid blasters. But like, I applaud them for like really coming up with some cool stuff. I actually think the Mad Mega, the one with the big, can you mind grabbing that for 1 sec, Matt? I think the Mad Mega is actually kind of like a really cool, like almost the star of the show in some ways, as a fun little...
You can sling it on yourself with the...
Have an extra drum, like such high capacity. I think the Rage Fire is really cool. And I think they've done some cool design stuff. I think the only problem is they changed their designs, but their designs are not accounting for the materials. Right. So I applaud everything they've been doing. I have a broken Rage Fire. I have a broken lever action lock blaster, which again, I really, really like. Mm-hmm. But they just don't, I run parties like with kids and stuff too. And like, they do not withstand impatient, like having fun children. So like that, and oh my goodness, the Xshot Pro Long Shot, I don't understand why. I think it's cool. I haven't opened mine up yet, so I can't comment on it too much. But I gotta say, like, I don't know why, as a hobby, everyone is completely cool with every plunger tube breaking on these. I don't know. I think it's cool they did it. It's $30. Like, I'm not saying people should be angry, but I almost feel like people are just like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, it does. It does matter. It's a blaster they're selling, and most people will never mod it. Most people are not buying metal plunger tubes from Out of Darts. They should, though. Go to Out of Darts and get your metal plunger tube today.
Use code Maritime Phone.
But like, I don't know. I just think there needs to be a bit of balance. I guess my point isn't really to poop on Xshot, because I think they're great. I am a big fan, and I replaced that Rage Fire and I fixed the other one. My point is, like, you can't just like lose your mind at one company and like not recognize that there are kind of problems all around. But anyway.
Yeah. No, and it's become a very weird thing on like what is the acceptable level of functionality
Right.
that we'll tolerate from blasters, and what is the kind of like tolerable level for being excited or hyping it up. Because like I've kind of lived and died by my Harrier this year, and I still will because, and I brought it to a bunch of events, so I think I know what I'm talking about now. But the it works out of the box as is. It comes with a couple options: the springs, the barrels, and like I can tell you the times that it's failed on me, and I can tell you which of those times has been user error. But it also comes at a premium price, like the same as the Mark IV. And so that's a downside, for some people already. Again, the price. But I love that it just worked. And some other blasters, they don't out of the box. And yeah, the long shot has that problem too. And yeah, I almost wish that it was just 35 or 40 USD instead with a just better, like just ever so better plunger tube, and they would have had an absolute win. And I know other people have had problems with other internal components maybe breaking over time too, but I want to say that most of those have been after upgrading.
Yep.
So, how much, how much can you really blame the company once you start modifying it at that point? But when you find them, breaking on store shelves simply because maybe there was too much squish, and then sometimes people will find them breaking after minimal use. You're like, this is not ideal. And if it really was that simple, you're like, that's frustrating because the price was, you have to wonder what was the competition for the X-Shot Pro long shot itself. The Nexus, do we have to compare the Nexus to it? I don't know. What is the fair comparison? Because that's way more expensive.
Yeah.
So they still could have undercut it significantly. I think X-Shot's competition is X-Shot.
Right.
Like they always are cheaper than everyone else. So they just made it as cheap as possible. And unfortunately, it just bit them a little too hard on that one.
It's cheaper in the US than a lot of their other blasters, like you say. Like it's like the price is, I don't know. I guess maybe it was a test. Maybe that was part of it. I know you mentioned the Harrier.
Yes.
Matt bought himself a little something the other day.
No, we'll bring it up after stream, right?
We'll bring it up at the end of the stream. I'm paranoid. American Foam he was talking about his Seagull on stream, and his stream got suspended by the AI for being a firearm. But Matt, what what do you think of the Seagull so far? Kind of the baby of the Harrier.
It's everything that I would want in a blaster, to be honest.
Oh, geez.
Like it's the manufacturing, the feel of it feels way chunkier, much better than the Tryon. The Mark IV is way bigger. I think I fired. Al had a Harrier in Maryland that we tried. I think.
Yep.
Again, the worker stuff is the injected plastic stuff is just so much nicer.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy. I'd much rather spend up for one or two great blasters than have a bevy or an arsenal of cheaper ones. So
is that a jab at me?
Yeah. No, you have more than an arsenal, sir.
That's true. Let's go to the chat for a sec because I don't want to. I do not want to ignore all of our chat friends here.
Wesley had the first good one I saw. He was asking us about the Nerf. What's the
Nerf ball?
Yeah, Nerf ball. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nerf.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. What do you? We'll hand that over to you. You go ahead. Go ahead, guest.
Yes, Nerf ball, the worst game mode ever made. Hasbro has never done anything for us, and this will fail. I was waiting for Nerf ball since many people were hearing about it back in October of last year. Wow, it's been a year. What the heck? I was curious because, I think I mentioned in some of my videos at the time too, I wanted to play dart tag since I was younger because I was at least aware of the hobby when they put out those videos, and I was, I think in middle school or high school back then. So it was on my radar, but I obviously never got a chance to actually play in that kind of setting, and it looked cool because dart tag is cool. Objective fact. You can't argue that. And so this kind of seemed like it could potentially be the next iteration of it, a la something maybe a little bit more powerful, because Dart Zone, wow, Freudian slip. Dart tag blasters are inherently underpowered, and I guess tagger darts are, more dangerous than I ever realized, but that's okay. I'm not using them now, so it's fine. So I always wanted to see what Nerf ball really was, and then to see if I could play, because it seemed like when Nerf does something, it gets the most buzz possible. That's
Yep.
also just the fact of it.
Hasbro.
So if Nerf puts something out like this, it has the potential to reach a bigger audience. And if they're talking, the hint, of course, was this is a pro blaster. So you're like, okay, what's going on? And I'm excited to see what they do with it. And yes, I was planning to talk more about it, but the real unknown is what they do with what they've shown off, because they've done plenty of things in the past where it's like, hey, here's new blaster, here's a fake competition, and you're like, wonderful, okay, it's the Ultra One. And then they've done this now, which was not a fake competition. I have that confirmed.
Okay.
Real game that actually happened. That means that if you saw someone who maybe wasn't taking their hits, that's a real person who maybe wasn't taking their hits, because that's how games work, apparently.
Yeah.
So, the game itself seems like it has legs. It can be fun to play. The trick is that something that we're going to have to only go to a few spots to experience, which it sounded like from the Verge. I can't say anything correctly today. From that article, it sounded like their current plans for that kind of setup was at a few locations versus being able to buy all the equipment yourself and host that kind of game. Now, if you can buy the ball and just have that working, I guess that's the close second. Or maybe you don't need the ball and you just take the instructions and you make your own kind of game. Or as some people said, this is basically like games that we already have. Okay, so be it. Well, now you have something that's more, maybe it's going to get more publicity and more people might be interested and seek out our games as a result. Where they see this and they're like, okay, is there anything like this? Do I need this expensive blaster? And you're like, well, we got options, baby. So I think the net positive of Nerf Ball will outweigh any of the complaints for Strife X is overpriced, because it just, again, it's from Nerf, and it looks like if you go into the game, you use those blasters, you can still have a lot of fun. I just wonder if the advertised experience that Out of Darts got to participate in, and all those other college level athletes got to participate in, I worry that is going to be harder to experience. And it really, I guess, depends on what Nerf decides to go with, because it's in the Nerf ball is in their Nerf court at this time.
Oh.
Wow.
Ooh, I know.
Wasting such good taglines on our stream. I hope I see that in a review of Nerf Ball. My biggest worry would be that there just will be nothing else. That they're just like, it was a big promo
For the Strife
and
X.
they did it. And it's a tough thing to I don't know. It's a tough thing to we say pro, but that's a tough thing to make an actual professional league without a real commitment. That I don't know that I believe that. I don't believe that they're going to make that commitment. But if it's if all the Nerf Challenge locations that they do, maybe they start doing Nerf. But I feel like it's an investment that can't possibly return enough. Probably for them to do a whole much more. I don't know.
That's the worry.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's difficult to get a, as professional as you want to call it, sports league off the ground, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the XFL. They tried 4 times to try and break into the market, and it just never works. And there's a reason for that, because you need so much money to start it up. You need to be consistent. You need to essentially explode with all of your exposure.
Yeah.
And like Bray said, get as many people into the hobby and into that sport as you can early on, and then you can maybe scale it back to professional stuff. But if it's just 2 or 3 locations and we get a fly to Chicago to go see Nerf Ball,
I'm going.
Okay.
Let's go.
I was going to try and go to those action arena experiences once before I moved down to where I am now. It actually could have been possible. I know Buff Daddy went to one of those, so maybe it wasn't necessary. But this is the kind of thing, if they actually have it somewhere that would be reasonable travel, I would certainly consider going to that. And for anyone wondering, no, Nerf has not reached out to be like, hey, we want you to come here, because they've done their part on that. Like I said, it's more in their court now to see what is next, if they're really going to push it, and if that's going to be the extent of it. Then is that bad? I don't know, but it really feels like it's also kind of tied to the success of the Strife X, right?
For sure. It's
They're
weird.
hand in hand.
And it's weird too. I think it's different in the US, but here, I'm guessing and Canada's not the market they need to succeed in, but it's an extra barrier here that like the higher performance blasters, like you can't get an X-Shot long shot at a toy store. You have to go to like Canadian Tire. It's more like you go where you get the tools and the like BB guns and stuff like that. Right. Like it's, we're just more, it's probably regulations around like FPS and all that stuff. So extra barriers. Nobody cares about Canadian problems. Back to the chat. Look at that. Barasta, hello from the other side of the world in Japan. Look at that reach. Suck it. Reaching everywhere. Welcome. Buff Daddy Nerf. Ragefire has spare chains. Oh my goodness. I'll be looking at that. Probably not on Amazon.ca.
All that.
Fomando, maybe a Beskar plunger too. we'll allow it. X-Shot, long shot, bought the tube. Why not make it work for $10 more? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I can only imagine the reasons, but like, yeah, yes, for sure.
They had it. I mean, they had it, right? Like it was in their court to win. Like I said, the price was already significantly cheaper than I think any other comparable offering. So,
yeah. Hey, we have an All the Geek in the chat saying woohoo. Hey. We have Chris the Fist. What are they talking about? Who knows? Whole lot of nothing.
You guys know about the National Blaster League?
No.
Well, there's your homework after the stream.
I can't wait.
You can look at another league that failed to take off, and I am partially joking because it was just an advertisement for Bunker, but it's interesting.
Okay, no, I like it. I want to go live in the Nerf house and then watch that all day.
Yeah. Should I address my background right now?
That seems like a really good segue.
Maybe. I mean, this is not my house. I don't live here. I think they put this place up for rent at one point. Like you could go there, but I am not on the Nerf House Showdown set. So for anyone who did recognize this, congrats.
I just assumed you used that YouTube money to make an investment and buy it.
Yeah. No, if I was actually here, then I probably would be getting an invite to Nerf Ball.
Probably.
But here we are. Oh, there are darts behind me. It's a dart table.
I feel like if people have not watched the Nerf House videos, they really should. It's like, I mean, maybe not for the right reasons, but you should.
Satirical at this point, right?
You should go watch it.
They're an experience.
Yeah.
Also, Bret. Spoiler alert: the Bret who was in Nerf House Showdown won. So.
Well, now nobody has to watch.
Now the spoiler alert, but that's. I mean, if that ain't a sign, I don't know what it is. Finally, Nerf listens to the community, aka me.
I'm going to pop into the chat for 1 second. Hello, Not Enough Nerf is in the chat. Hello, so glad to have you by. Stevie Shoots Darts. He's asked a couple times. I saw it. He's asking, what's on my finger? I'm going to show you what's on my finger. Well, my pal Marcus, he did a Stringer Ultra Blaster. The Germans love Ultra. That's just a fact of it. So you can quote me on that if you are from Germany. And he did a little Ultra string blaster. We chatted and joked and we scaled it up to fire Mega. Oh, hit the target cam. I like an excuse for the target cam where I change things around. So pretty fun. Then we went from there to I was like, why don't we do 2? And Marcus is too nice to say no to me. So he stacked 2. And then we're like, why not 4? So this blaster is called the Candelabra, and it can fire 4 mega darts. And this one is printed in gold. And look at how the light hits the tip of those mega darts, Matt. It's like some sort of candelabra. So you can fire a couple at once, and you got a spare up there, and a spare down there. And a little bit of a support fell off. That's all right. We just strung this before the show. So all of that to say, you should follow Marcus at Foam Blasted on Instagram. He's going to be releasing a whole ton of stringers. Stringers are really fun to make. They don't require any hardware. You get some very cheap cord. And if you have a 3D printer or a friend with one, you can make some cool stuff. This is a ring. I asked, he did a keychain. I was like, that looks cool, but I want it on my finger. So we did a ring. We're still working on the actual ring part. This is tape. But you get a little boop, you get a little ring blaster for that, just for your last resort. And as a man who
I need that.
you
I
do need that.
I need it. I need it right
because
now.
Oh, I didn't resize that Discord window. Oh no, how embarrassing. You were in Maryland Mayhem as this character. And he was terrifying. I want to get back to there. Now I can rest that I have that cropped professionally. That was tough. So yeah, Stevie, that's what that is. Check out Marcus and you can see his stuff. I do want to chat a little bit with you about, I've been at an event or two now, maybe just the one, tell us about how you like to approach HVZ, because I feel like, your HVZ approach is, whereas like a lot of people are like wearing 80 mags and just in full like, well, I'm never gonna die, and they're radioing their friends. I've seen you play a little bit, and you just can't seem to wait until you are part of the undead. So tell us about how you like to approach HVZ.
You picked the worst person to ask about HVZ, but sure, I'm here. We'll go for it. I historically, I like to play all things Nerf, but I did not get into the hobby through HVZ. Therefore, my loyalties to the lore, the LARP of HVZ is not as strong as some other people. As a result, I don't take HVZ that seriously, and then I still play hard enough, so I guess I'm full of it. But how I approach HVZ as a result is I usually try to put in minimal effort. I think enough about it, and then I just kind of see like, okay, we're going to go from here. I've really enjoyed for HVZ the opportunity to actually run around the most, because I've found that, casual games, I like to move. That's why I like to go to games. I like to play, and I like to get a little bit of exercise. But you usually get the most steps during dart sweep. Hot tip. So maybe remember to dart sweep. Mm-hmm. And that's also how you get your best squats, and you really hurt yourself that way. Anyway, same with HVZ. But the HVZ, when you're a zombie, you have a lot of freedom. Now, I was never a cross-country star, but I've also found that when you just have the ability to run around and you feel good, there's something fun about that. So I did that recently at RAG. I got, 15 miles in one for that day when I said I wasn't going to play that hard. So I started as a human, but I planned to die. And lo and behold, welcome to the Horde. So it was planned. And yes, as the photo from Maryland Mayhem shows as well, I started as a human. My plan was to die. It happened a little sooner than expected. But at the same time, I will say that with that mentality, you're setting yourself up for success and not frustration. And that is also just the hardest thing about HVZ, because, some people who get really into their human loadout,
right,
once you get tagged, it's kind of game over. And then there's other cases where that's not necessarily the end, and you might still be able to come back. But, you kind of have to set yourself up to have a good time regardless. And I found that by packing very limited HVZ gear and just kind of being prepared to play both sides whenever that may happen, then I'm guaranteed to have the most amount of fun. And sometimes just the scary zombie loadouts are the most fun. And it's, how should I say this? You can legally harass your friends when you're a zombie.
You say you're the worst people to talk about, but honestly, I think that's a great take for it. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't know that running around is my best time ever, but if I turn into a zombie, I give it my best. But I think, I don't know. I know you brought a lot of joy to people with your multi-fingered, multi-handed zombie, and I actually think it's really good for people to see people who don't mind being turned into a zombie, that can still be fun.
To be frank, before you mentioned, oh gosh, to be frank, before you mentioned it, I didn't even think about it. I'm sure, like you said, a lot of people put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into their human loadout. But if that's the only thing you think of, as soon as you're tagged, that's it for you. Your fun times are over. Now I gotta be a zombie.
Right.
But if you put equal thought into what am I gonna do after I get
you're gonna put on some compression pants to eliminate that chafing, so you need less tactical Vaseline. That's smart.
But yeah, if you put equal thought into how am I gonna play after I get zombified, then I think that's the mentality to have, because there is no way you go through every single HVZ without getting zombified.
No, for sure. And I've had kind of a mixed experience with being a zombie. And like, I'm sorry, I'm going to mention Enwar really briefly, and then we're not going to talk about it anymore. But like Enwar, I did have a great time down there. That's where I feel like the real friendship between Al the Geek and I just blossomed.
Sure.
So super grateful, and to all the Maryland folks down there too. Super grateful for Enwar. Really helped, just helped forge some friendships and stuff. But like being a zombie during Enwar it was awful. I never even saw a human, and like it was weird. Grove City, my first one, I got turned into a zombie early. I'm pretty sure it was Buff Daddy, but I still admire him, even though he tagged me immediately. But it was my own fault. I was being, I'm in Canada. I don't grow up on tactical training. I got tagged from being careless. But like Grove City was really fun. The zombie leader made it a fun thing, and like there was a lot of camaraderie, and missions were in a way that you had a chance to tag people. Yeah. I love that at PA Survival Fest, all of the stuff was certain ammo, because it is like you have all different shapes and sizes for HVZ. Like I feel like you're a runner, Matt. You'd be a runner. For me, like my odds of catching people are like smaller at PA Survival Fest. So like, the Talanax Armory, not to call him out, but like he's a bigger guy as well. And like they made those guys, they're like, oh, we're going to make you like the mega, you have to be hit by mega.
Right.
And those guys got some good tags because they were like part of a crowd, and we'd be like, oh, it's the mega zombies. And there'd be a little bit of panic trying. And I just think I like that. Like I like variety. I like a little bit of variety in ammo. I know it gets more complicated as you get more people too, but I don't know. I think it all can be fun. I feel like it's easier to be easygoing about it though too if the HVZ promises a bit better time as a zombie. Like end war times as a zombie, we're not great. It felt like it was over, and that's too bad. Grove City, I had a great time as a zombie, and I was a zombie longer. PA Survival Fest, I was actually there until Maryland Mayhem, I made it near to the end to when you killed me. I can't believe I drove you 19 hours just to murder me at the end. But I don't know. Yeah, it all depends. But anyway, I don't know. I think it can be fun. I like hearing your take. I think you have a very healthy take on it.
For sure.
Ragnar Oktoberfest, for the zombies, they had missions as well to unlock their specials. So the humans had missions to unlock specials, but so did the zombies. And so since I became one of those pretty quickly, there were like dart collecting ones so that I could unlock like throwables.
That's
or
awesome.
Ones to unlock the noodle arms, ones to unlock like the trains or tanks. So there was stuff for the zombies to do, and they were fun. Like they were lighthearted. They didn't involve like, all right, you got to tag 20 humans in the next hour.
Run
like
15 miles to unlock something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like one of them was dancing, like getting humans to dance with you. And RAG was also a limited, the Stalking Dead at RAG was also a limited kind of ammo supply. So you started with an X amount of darts, you had to scavenge. And so there was a less incentive for humans just to blindly fire at you as a zombie, because they'd have to scavenge or hope they have more ammo left.
Yep.
So a friend was very good at getting folks to dance with him. And I mean, what are you going to do? You see someone dancing with you on the field and you're like, hey, that's kind of fun. You just gave the zombie actually some perks. Right. So it was very clever, and it made being a zombie fun. And that one didn't involve like running your heart out, right? So that was something that anyone could kind of do, and it gave this is I think Luchathor, by the way. It gave him the ability to form a conga line behind him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Smart.
We lured you in to talk about kind of one of your leads. What's your favorite stuff to do?
Not Nerf. This is worst.
Sorry, I meant Nerf. I mean, you know what? If you want to talk about your marble collection for the rest of the stream, you go for it. We're here for you.
My favorite stuff to do, like in games or videos or
Well, you know what? Let's do a quick half and half, like types of games to play. And I do want to talk about your. We should really talk about your videos, because I mean that's obviously that's what kind of that's why I know who you are, and was excited to meet you and get a selfie down at Maryland Mayhem. Oh, another Discord screen that's badly cropped. What a sham
Me
this
waiting
show
for the
is.
stream to catch up.
Oh boy. All right. I'll go back to that one. But let's go gameplay first.
Gameplay first. Yeah, I love the games that are as I've kind of found through the years, and also we'll do a half and half with what people I've found also enjoy watching online. Sometimes they like 20-minute long gameplay footage that has nothing going on, but you only know really what happens there, and it's not as interesting to watch back when you're like kind of reloading a mag on the field. So I like the games that are shorter. And I think a lot of other people do too, so that you can kind of just fire everything in a single round, like, 5-minute round with constant respawns. So one of my favorite things that we did in the Pacific Northwest was we did, it was like, we called it flux or control points. And I think we added various capture objectives in that game too. But it was you have a block in the middle that's red on one side and blue on the other. You have an odd number of them, or maybe some are worth more points. We added some flags at one point too that you could capture and bring back, but it was okay. Here's a 3-minute round. At the end of the 3 minutes, whoever has the most of their color up wins. Right. So yeah, in the very beginning, you could flip it, doesn't matter. It's only going to matter at the very, very end. Yeah. But the respawns were constant. The respawns were instant because it's a very short round, which meant that for someone like me, you run in, die, respawn. You die fast, respawn faster. So you just keep throwing yourself in there like a meat grinder, and then in the last like 30 seconds, it's like, okay, what do we got? Let's go. And that's when the craziness ensues, and you go from we're winning to what a blowout. That sucked, but it was fun, and it was like people actually get to dump some of their like full autos in that one, and it can be a lot of just overall craziness. The most starts I've seen in the air at once has come from games like that. So the fast-paced, like short burst energy rounds are the most memorable for me. But at the same time, I mean, there's something to be said about not tiring yourself out completely, because if you play those constantly, oh boy, you get tired. Yeah. So I like those. I like.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool. I mean, I will admit, I'm not always the biggest fan of gameplay footage, because honestly, I think this is pretty common. Like, I mostly want to see the exciting parts. Like, unless it's a tournament or something, I might be interested in. I know it's a shocker. I do find a lot of gameplay videos just too long. Like, you edit your stuff down quite a bit, which
You don't like unedited footage that's an hour and a half long?
I thought I wasn't going to have any hot takes tonight, but I do have one. One of your videos I really like, you're using your sledge fire, and you're counting the shells, and you're going through and showing kind of the hits with that. And I thought that was great. I will admit, I also watch everything with a bit of a, wow, what a bunch of work that would have been. Cool, I better...
Yeah.
I better watch
It's like,
this.
There's a scale for sure. Some people put... Oh gosh, we can have another that's 3-hour stream long about gameplay footage. But yeah, it's unfortunate because you kind of have to put in whatever you want for a gameplay video, knowing that you'll probably get just no one watching comparatively.
Right.
Yeah, comparatively. And it's unfortunate because that should be the coolest thing to show off to people who are not in the hobby, or the people who, frankly, are. You're like, this is our game. And if you weren't there, it wasn't you, or you really don't care, they're not going to totally care the same way. And yeah, so sometimes those short clips are the most interesting to watch, but obviously a little bit of editing will help that go a long way too. But that's also one of the reasons I typically don't record like anything at HVZ, because HVZ is the worst. You have to put in so much work to make a good HVZ video. I know there's some out there, like from Naptown Nerf, Dart Dragon, TK1138. Any I'm missing, shout out, missed, I apologize. But because what is HVZ footage? It's 2 hours of you walking around, and then your camera might overheat. Oh, I'm going to turn that off. Oh, here they come. And then suddenly you turn it back on. I got tagged. Right. Oh, sorry, you missed my death. And you're like, oh, well, is this a video? I guess it could be.
I still have my footage from Maryland Mayhem and PA Survival Fest, because I just haven't had, it's just such a big job. It's like a little bit daunting, because like I really think that a gameplay summary for an HVZ you probably get like 2 minutes max for actual gameplay.
Action.
The exciting part is the rushes, the close calls, and you gotta be a little bit lucky, because I don't run a GoPro the whole time, because there's no way on earth I'm watching 6 or 7
7
hours
hours,
of footage. Like, so I tap a camera when it's time to record, and like you say, sometimes things get overheated, sometimes they don't, sometimes you miss things. I did a little like quick edit of some stuff after Maryland Mayhem when Luke from Out of Darts was on the stream, and like it was like 30 seconds of like shots of game stuff from Andrew Dart Sweep, and I was like, you know what, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all the gameplay stuff I'll do, because that gives it. You see large groups of people, you see some darts in the air, and I'm like, maybe that's enough. Okay. But yeah, no, it's tricky to find. It's tricky to find that balance. What are your favorite?
The good ones? In case you hadn't seen them before, like from Dart Dragon and Naptown, like they're combined End War HVZ ones. They use drone footage. Right. They recap the missions, so they talk about the mission itself again. They give extra context.
Oh.
They have the multiple angles of gameplay, synced up between what happens. So to make a good HVZ video, like cream of the crop,
right.
you get to get everything.
Yeah.
And if that's not daunting and uninteresting or like a scary task, then I don't know what is.
I am subbed to Naptown Nerf, but I don't know that I've seen, or maybe it's just been a while. I'm gonna have to go check it out. I mean, and it's one of those things too. It's like you're putting in the most work, and it can be a little bit of a bummer too if it doesn't get seen. But I don't know. It's not all for the views either. Like I know I've watched a lot of Boomstick Mods stuff before I ever went to a Maryland event, because I was like, oh, it's cool to get like a bit of a taste of like what are the events like,
right.
and what are they doing. So like it's nice for learning as well. But no, that sounds cool. I'll have to check. I'll have to check that out more for sure. I wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't know what do you have any questions before I go on with my, me, I can go on and on.
No, I'm good. We're 4 minutes to the hour, so this is your 4-minute warning.
All right. Well, we'll try to be pretty respectful to that hour. We might squeak over the tiniest bit. What are your favorite type of videos to do? Because you have a variety. You have some plain reviews. You have some great integration videos. Some of my favorites, really, those integration videos. What do you like to do though? What makes you happy, and what stuff are you just like, I don't want to do those as much anymore?
I don't know, man. That's the biggest challenge of making so many different kinds of videos over the years. You'll get comments of people saying, oh, I like this, make this again. You're like, that could be fun. And then you do something completely different. You're like, oh, that could be fun too. And I mean, like, I've liked, here's one way to answer this. I like not doing review videos, because I think a lot of people kind of focus on doing reviews only. And I mean, I still do review videos, of course, like talking about certain blasters. But I hate to have that as like the identity of my channel, because I think some other people just do it better. That's like what they focus on, all those specifics. But also I've found that like trying to find a formula to make the best review possible is also boring. And a good review should be kind of boring. And I don't want to make, in my opinion, kind of like more boring stuff. I think other people can put out that good information, and I'll certainly pipe in when I think I have a useful tidbit, or you get something for free and then you're kind of required to.
Oh my God! I just realized, and I'm conscious of time, and I know I'm interrupting you, but that all makes sense. But I do have to bring up. So do you do you see a lot of gel videos in your future?
No, I don't, because I thought I had a logical conclusion, and then even X-Shot was like, yo, that's great. By the way, here's some more. Yeah, and there you go. And I'm like, uh-oh. Good thing they sent me a different box that I can maybe hide those blasters in and then pretend it's one video and it's going to be another. Gel blast.
For people who don't know, you did the month-long, you did the Gelfire Mythic Challenge. You were a winner in that. You were second place in that. I
won one of those weeks, yes.
Right. And can you, I don't want to bring back the drama, but can you tell us just a little snippet about that experience? And if anyone hasn't seen those videos, they should go watch them, go through them.
I shouldn't say this on YouTube, so I guess I won't say those words. But, it was a good taste of what it might be like to be a professional TikToker. Wasn't thrilled about that. it's so weird to there's a certain type of video out there that you might find like for people who do more kind of like tangentially related like hobby videos where you're like, okay, this is a person who's on TikTok or on YouTube, so they identify more as like a TikToker or a YouTube, and they have this as their prop. Like, this is a Nerf blaster. This is the Nerf bleh. This is the gel bleh. And the point is like they're doing skits with that stuff, and the blasters are their props. And I think for us that it's always been a little bit more than that for us. Like, these are the blasters, and obviously we're talking about them because this is what we care about. So doing the gel fire challenge felt the most like that, where you're like, okay, so my job right now is again like YouTuber, TikToker, and I'm showing off these products because I'm competing in a challenge. And that didn't feel great. I'll admit, you know, plenty of ideas came up, and it was fun to see some of them through, some more than others, and also to toe the line to see what would get passed while you're like, wait, only 9 people are competing? Wait, I actually may have a chance? Maybe, kind of, not really, but let's give this a shot. What the heck? So it was an experience. I joked that I would do it again, and if I had like nothing else on my mind, I totally would, just to kind of go all in. And that's not to say that wouldn't happen again in the future, by the way. These things are always possible. They always could happen. And people would be like, why would you do that? And I'd say, why not? Because it would be silly, and people would be like, what are you doing? And that's the motivation I need. So those are my favorite videos to do. Let's go all the way back. Those are the favorite ones are when people are like, what? Okay. And if I can kind of capitalize on that being my identity, the things that were like, okay, that seems like something Bret would do, then I guess I win. Obviously, there's going to be a mixture of me being more serious during games, and then people are going to be like, oh, wait, this is weird. Like, why aren't you being silly? And other times where you're being silly and people are like, man, this dude don't take anything seriously, does he? And you're like, whatever. Like, yeah, you're right. I make too much different stuff. Now I don't know what my channel identity is. But you kind of just, as I've found over the years, you find what speaks to you. You find what speaks to you kind of in the moment. And sometimes my favorite videos, and ironically the ones that have done the best, are the ones that just kind of come up out of nowhere, where you're like, I haven't been thinking about this for weeks. I have other stuff I'm planning to do, maybe a video I'm like ready to release, and then something else just kind of comes up, and you're like, that's stupid. I'm gonna
do it.
I'm gonna do that right now, and then you're really happy with what you did, and other people are like, this is the dumbest thing you've ever put out. When's the next one?
For sure. I had a video that's like mostly edited on that I wanted to do about kind of what we talked about, like X shot and the prolong shot, and just some of the good and the bad after doing, like, I did the unboxing one and favorable stuff like out of the box, but as you play with it more, kind of a follow-up. But like, I put all that aside because I'm like, my Nerf Crocs came, and I want to do a tactical rail for my Nerf Crocs, and that's all that matters. So I it's funny, like, one thing you said for sure, around like reviewing stuff and like the best review, and I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but it's funny because I definitely think like one of the best formats for reviews, and like one of my go-to for like when I really just needed an opinion on a blaster or wanted an opinion, I would look at Coop's reviews, and like they were just so systematic and like the same, and no matter how much success it could mean, I could never be that rigidly systematic.
And you almost have to be like that when you're reviewing stuff, because you have to compare. It has to be an equal playing field.
If you're going to be like the serious reviewer. Like, I like doing reviews, but I would not call myself a super serious reviewer by any means.
Right.
I'm sure you wouldn't either, Matt.
No.
What type of videos are your favorite, Matt, as kind of a, someone who's not you're consuming what we beg you to consume?
I do like the review videos, only because, like I said, I'm the type of, not collector, but I'm the type of person who would rely on all those reviews to make informed decisions about a couple of blasters. So I rely heavily on the reviews. Like the Seagull, I watched 4 or 5 reviews before I decided to pull the trigger. But I like the crazy stuff. I like the stuff that is innovative, that's creative, that requires a little bit of thinking, a little bit of planning, and is different than stuff like all of the Christmas and the Halloween skits that we did. That's the kind of stuff I like.
I do like that stuff, and there's definitely, I think it's healthy if you're making videos. If you do videos where you're like, I know this isn't going to do well, but it's going to be fun to do.
Right.
And I know a few people will see it and like it, and that's great. Or even if they don't, you're just like, I want to do it. And I think that's...
You gotta do stuff that you enjoy first and hope that people like it and it resonates with other people. If you're doing videos solely for the audience, you're not gonna have a good time.
And like, we're not doing it for the... I'm in the... It's fun. I will get comments sometimes, like, because like the X-Shot Insanity stuff, like in that game, like you get comments where people are like, ugh, must be nice. I'm like, it is nice. I've devoted an unhealthy amount of my life to informing people about these toys, and I am running at a heavy loss. So yeah, it's nice.
You mean you're not paying me for these streams?
You get a cut of my stream revenue profits afterwards.
All right,
so
how do you divide a penny?
Well, like YouTube, once it hits $100, I'll cut you a check.
Okay.
So
it is very difficult. Like, I mean, we're talking as kind of like content creators here, maybe even influencers if you use that word. Ew. But it's like, yeah, you do the things that you enjoy, but you also are like, okay, the people who are watching my stuff, they're here for a reason, and I want to give them that too. I've always seen my stuff as some of my videos I would consider informative, but I try to make entertainment. That's always how I've kind of categorized myself unapologetically. So I'm gonna do things that I find entertaining, and I'm also making videos that I would possibly have wanted to watch when I first jumped in back in like 2007. So I'm making this for my younger self. And now myself currently too. Oops, I guess I've never changed. But yeah, it is a difficult balance, and it changes over time between what you find that you enjoy and other people might versus like, the reverse of that. And then you're like, well, okay. And then I'm getting this other stuff too. So I have those obligations. Is this a business? And like, I've said this before too, of like kind of trying to toe that line between this is still something I do for fun, but yeah, you get it too. There's a money aspect to this. I've tried to break even for the most part with what I spend now, and I can kind of get away with that, which is amazing, and I'm super thankful for that ability. But then, we are also the most tempted for those crazy expensive things, and sometimes people are like, when are you going to talk about this? What about that? And you're like,
can't do it all. No.
Leave me alone. Like, I'm sorry. There's just certain things that like, and it costs me too much time, too much money, and I realistically at that point have to look at them as like this just doesn't make sense for me, and I'm sorry if that comes across as like, ew, YouTuber, like you're being a YouTuber now. You're not being just an entertainer.
Dance monkey.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, dance.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think too, when a lot of people, because I know there are some people on the stream, oh hey, Xbox Games, good to see you, and Phone Quest. I haven't looked at the chat in a bit. I'm very sorry. Yes, good old Coop. It's funny how like when you start out, it's like it'll be like I still think it's very cool to get stuff to review. Like I'm like, someone cares enough that they're like sending me products. That's super cool. But you definitely, when you're starting out, you're like, how could anyone ever complain or say that that's too, like that gets tiring? And then like you get to a point where you're like, oh, like it is pressure, and it's like not a job, but if you get too much stuff to review, you feel the weight, like you kind of feel the weight of it, of like, ugh, I didn't say anything about that. Like I have a couple things that I have received over the last like 3 years that I just like never got to. And it's like, I don't, like, if you're just getting sent a sample, I feel like, I don't know, it's a chance they take. You can't beat yourself up over it. There's only, there's only so much time and so much stuff. I mean, I generally, if someone asks me if I want to see something and I say yes, I do feel like that's a bit of a commitment to like do a thing. If it just shows up unannounced, I kind of feel a little bit more liberty to be like, well, I don't have time. I don't have time. Right. Maybe it'll come up in passing, but it's a, I don't know. It's a tricky thing to hit. And I think of it as entertainment as well. I mean, I like the goofy aspect of things. It's funny. I feel like I kind of break even on stuff too, but it's only because I run parties. If I wasn't running like event stuff, like the channel is like, because I like doing shorts. Like I know some people are super not a fan of them. I like shorts because there's so much stuff I would never talk about if I didn't. I almost treat it like, if I can use another word, vlogging.
Oh my gosh.
I like saying to people like, hey, I really like this thing. Or
Right.
and every once in a blue moon I do the thing you're not supposed to do, and I might like post a little video of me doing something non-Nerf. I'm like, I'm doing a fun thing with friends, bye. And no one cares. And like, I don't know. Maybe I feel like doing a little reel.
Yeah.
And I'll do what I want, I guess. I don't know. It's fun overall. It's led me to meet a lot of cool people, present company included, and get to do some events. And I will be doing more. Hopefully, you'll be doing more. You have a bigger family now, but
Yes.
Luckily any events are quite a ways away, and I'm sure we'll figure something out
For sure.
down the road. Is there
That's what
anything
I've
you
told
were
people
hoping?
too, though.
Oh,
yeah,
so-
why I've been in this now for 15 years at least. And it's like, well, why are you still doing this? Because I met some kids recently at a game, and was explaining to like some of the new stuff to them, and it's like, yeah, I've been in this for a while, and the reason, when I joined at your age, pretty much, is because it was interesting then, and it only got more interesting, and it's from the connections I've made and the new blasters, and the games have changed too, but some things are still the same old silliness that like the core of what I found interesting way back then.
Yeah. Now, I do have a question I did want to ask. I kind of like asking this when people are on. Would you have a lot of friends who are like, in some circles, you're a man.
Friends. No friends. I have no friends.
No friends. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, in some circles you are a man with hat. Do you have normal friends who are like just kind of oblivious to what you're doing and are just like, what an odd thing?
Ignoring previous answer. So yes, I have other friends, and it's a weird. I've always found it like a little bit of a weird conversation, because some of them are aware of it. Some people will watch my stuff like here and there, and then others, like when family members start saying, "How's that YouTube thing going?" You're
Right.
like, I don't. How do I answer this? Like, how deep do you explain stuff
Right.
without getting into the nitty-gritty details? Like, because you can always phrase it in weird ways too, like to my engineering friends and other people kind of like in that industry. You're like, well, I know a bunch of people with a bunch of 3D printers. They have print farms. They make their own toys, and they're disrupting the market, arguably.
Right.
And so you can really spin what eventually becomes, yeah, I play tag still. I run around with like the least powerful stuff, and I get hit in the face, and then I post it online, and people ask me to do it again.
Right.
So you could say I'm an icon, and yeah, you can really pick and choose your words carefully. But I do talk with some friends and family about it a little bit. But again, it always feels a little bit odd. Like you can kind of say like, yes, this is what I spend a lot of time doing and I have fun, while like, I guess not trying to rope them into it, because clearly they don't have as big of an interest. Otherwise they would have gone with you. But we all have our own hobbies that not everyone explores, and they're just happy that you're doing something you like, and then you're like, hey, by the way, too, this company sent this to me for free, and they're like, whoa! And you can like really make them impressed with things that they don't understand. So that's fun too. And then the family side, where you're like, oh yeah, this actually it's not burning a hole in my wallet. I'm actually able to make some money back, and then when I buy like a $400 plane ticket, it actually isn't as bad as it was before. Also, I'm going to somewhere, and I know people in this area who have like offered to show me around. Like I could actually go to a bunch of different countries now and have people who are willing to kind of like meet me and like show me around, which is, I wouldn't have gotten those connections otherwise. How crazy is that? And they're like, oh, I guess that is cool. Good job. You know how to network.
For sure. Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is definitely. It is interesting for sure. Like, so like at work, I will I work for an oil company. I'm a graphic designer and a photographer. And like at work, I'll be in the office. It's in like, a big corporate office, and I'll be in the elevator, and somebody will be like, "Are you the Nerf guy?" I'll be like, "Why, yes, I am the Nerf guy." And Matt here, when I feel like you had a couple of funny things when like, at Matt, when we were going to Maryland Mayhem,
Yes.
where people were like, "What are you doing for the weekend?"
I'm like, well, actually, I'm driving 12 hours.
How do I say this lightly?
Right. And like my team leader at the time, when I asked for the time off, the same thing. Like, what are you going? Why do you need Thursday, Friday off for the long weekend? Like, well, let me tell you. And I get into the whole thing, and they're like, that is not what I expected you to say at all. Well,
No,
it is what it is.
It is, and it's a lot of fun, and it's, I don't know, it's I kind of joke sometimes. I go into like TED Talk mode where I'm like, I am excited enough about it that I like have to stop myself from saying more than people care about. And that's hard to do when there is something when you enjoy quite a bit. And and I know there are, and I try to pick and choose. Like usually if I know someone who, if I mention it and they're like, oh, I used to play paintball, I'm like, ooh, well, let me tell you a bit more.
Let me tell you about airsoft.
Convert.
Oh, right. I was like, you should play airsoft, bro. And then I punch them in the face.
There you go.
But I don't know.
Also, it's been quite a journey of like, also when you look back at maybe things that I've done in the past, because like I'll say I'm usually an introvert, and in Nerf I'm an extrovert. That's weird, and I've like learned better public speaking skills by like making videos and then going to events and like talking with people. Like there's a lot of benefits
Practical
that we've been able to get from stuff like this, which is I'm extremely thankful for.
Yeah, I fixed a plug in an electric hot tub, which I don't recommend getting in. I changed over an air mattress inflator over to lipo. I was like, hey, this is fun. But it's like this works.
In case you need a mattress in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I was like, this works way better. It might explode. I don't know, but like it's fun to learn skills. I should continuity camera. I don't know what that means. We are over time a little bit. I'm going to do just a quick visit to the chat. Xbox Games is wondering how many socks you threw at him at Rag. He said
0 brains.
Oh,
I
how
had
many
no socks.
brains?
Yeah.
Lots of brains. Stunt
At least
Matt,
a dozen.
Stunt Matt loves Xbox Games vids. Thanks, Stunt Matt. Oh, there's love in the chat. I like it. Maritime Road Trip. We have the phone player from PEI. That's right. Elijah, who I'm pretty sure I met at End War. I'm pretty sure I have a selfie with Elijah, unless I'm getting real confused, but I think I do have one. Because when I went to End War and a couple people knew who I was like, come and take a picture with me. This is so fun. And I would have anyway, because it was cool to meet people. Colin Blank. Hello. Baresta says, if you're ever in Japan, I assume that's to you, but Matt and I are going to take that too.
Yeah.
So we will see you soon. Yeah. Maybe we'll all come. And Stunt Matt, what happened to Bray's YouTube hiatus?
Nerf ball.
Nerf ball.
It was a cut line from that video where I said, this is going to happen while I'm gone. And I had enough time to kind of take things off. And then I saw the Nerf Strike X was the predecessor. And I was like, of course, I knew it, of course. And Luke was like, hey, guess what? Something's coming.
Yeah. And what are you gonna do? If ever there's a reason to kind of come back a little bit, that seemed worth it. But I mean, hopefully, I don't know. I know I did a little bit of a break on streams over the summer. I tried to dial things back a little bit. Everyone needs a little bit of a break
for sure
sometimes.
Yeah. I was also making like videos at least like once a week. Like I had kind of committed to a pretty, not an aggressive schedule, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna do stuff. Like I have stuff to talk about, and I'm gonna try and do it that much. And now I'm not. So I kind of used that time off to kind of figure out like, okay, this is a better reset point, and now I'm gonna make things when I feel like it. And some things I'm gonna record and they're not gonna be seen. Oops. So
and then there's me who's like, I'll just put everything in a short. did I trip on a dart?
Maybe.
Upload it goes.
Shorts do help with that. Yeah, it's true.
There's room for it all. This has been really awesome. Hey, Bro Cooper, good to see you. Just jumped on. When people jump on late and they apologize for missing the stream, I say, just go watch it later, because that's when that sweet, sweet ad revenue comes in. We're doing all this for free. No, thank you everyone who came by. It's really, really great. I love that people actually come and hang out and
engage
and chat and watch it. It's the funnest thing. I'm sorry there were a few times we just got chatting and I didn't keep up. It's hard to keep up on the chat, but people are also talking amongst themselves too. So we don't need to be a part of everything. You guys are adults. You can hang out in the chat too. Thank you very much, Bret, for coming and agreeing to be on the
Our most special guest.
That's a bold claim.
Finally.
I don't want to make
Finally.
enemies. The
Yeah,
most
this is my
special
first
guest.
live stream since I think a couple years or something. So it's been a while since I've done any of this.
No, it's
So,
awesome. It's a lot
yeah.
of fun. If you're enjoying live streams, check out World Foam Alliance. They started up a channel.
Yes.
Al the Geek's doing. He has a show where he's going through how to paint your own blasters and how to do a bunch of stuff there. Andrew Dart Sweep.
Dart sweep.
He's having guests on as well. He's doing shows. I was on his show. I think it's really cool that there's like more streams popping up. American Foam has started doing some streaming where he's like playing retro games and stuff.
yeah.
And I personally, I know the algorithm hates it. And God, I hate when people blame the algorithm for things. I know the algorithm hates it, but I really like seeing people that I know in the space. I enjoy seeing your other interests too. So go check out some of his gaming ones. He's dipping more into streams. I like that people are doing more streams. I like that that's happening, and I'd like to see more of it. And it's just a cool way to actually not just be watching videos back and forth, but to actually
Interact. Yeah.
interact live. It's always kind of it's weird because you watch enough videos of someone and you have to be like, I don't know you.
Right.
You don't know
Editing is
me.
amazing.
Right.
Right? Like you're just like you're like, hey, like I saw you in line for chronoing at Maryland Mayhem, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna say hi. You know, it's like, oh, we don't know who each other. We had interacted a little tiny bit, but it's always kind of weird. It's like when you see
There
a
are
friend's
social relationships.
right. It's like when you see like a friend's kid out somewhere in the city, and you're like, "Hello there, Jimmy," and then you're like,
runs
"Oh,
away.
I've terrified a child. They don't know that I know who they are." So don't terrify children, and don't terrify your friendly Nerf YouTubers. All right.
That's good advice. Yes.
That's what we're here for. I would love
On that note.
On that note, and I hope someday I would love to do this again. I would love to, maybe have a 2 or 3 guests on at a time. Maybe we do a little panel someday. Maybe we have our own Nerf house online. Who knows what we'll do? It's gonna be fun. It's gonna involve gel.
One's empty currently. Nothing's going on here. Nerf's not doing anything with it.
Nerf house is so quiet. All right, I'm going to click that end stream button. We still don't have a producer, so there's just no elegant way to cut other than for me to peer over and go to the good night button.